Rank. Poster. I would like to introduce this Rank the Posters episode in the style of Kane Hodder. And now I'm taking it off because judging by the YouTube viewing statistics, if you if you if you've stayed this long, you've basically stayed for the whole episode. So no need to prolong the inevitable. We're back. It's our off week, so that must mean we are ranking the posters. And for this particular episode, we are ranking the posters of the back half of the Friday the 13th series,
Indeed.
aka the Jason franchise, as it became known in the movies that we were covering. So we're here to rank the posters, but any final thoughts before we leave Friday behind forever?
Yeah, right. They do need that one more movie for sure.
Yeah,
I would argue three more movies, but
why three more?
because really the end, the like last Jason only story that wasn't also a reboot was 10.
Oh, okay. Not just because you have three sequel pictures in your back pocket.
Not because of that, although it is convenient.
It is very convenient, yeah. But how do you feel about coming to the end of our Friday the 13th coverage?
I, doing Halloween
Mm-hmm.
and then following it up with Friday the 13th,
Yeah,
and because I've always loved the lore of Michael Myers
sure.
and the Halloween movies a little bit more.
Yeah,
And I came to Friday the 13th like way later than I even should have. I think I was even out of high school when I first started watching these movies
yeah.
because I just thought of them as not Michael Myers.
You and the rest of the world.
And there's just so much to offer. And I guess,
Also how they think of themselves too. They think of
yeah, right.
themselves as inferior.
Yeah, they do. And then I begin to wonder which series has more good movies.
It's tight, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's closer than I think anybody would have ever thought.
I mean, I think we've mentioned this at some point before, but the big difference is that disparity between Halloween and the rest of the series. Friday the 13th doesn't have that problem.
Hmm.
Arguably some of the sequels are better than the original, or at least
Right,
tantamount to it. So the series has a different overall dynamic,
right.
but in terms of like comparing the quality of this of one series to another, it's sort of a like at the end of Freddy versus Jason, it's a tie almost.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I would say Friday the 13th just edges it because it has more because the it has stronger sequels. The kind of series comes to life
yeah.
through its sequels in a way that Halloween doesn't. Like everyone is kind of chasing that original
Hmm.
Halloween flavor in a way that they're not really care too much about for Friday for or as much about for Friday the 13th.
Right.
So that's a kind of big difference with it. But so it's safe to say it's gone up in your estimation.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess you asked how I feel about being done with it. I mean, whenever we're doing a long series, it's nice to move on to the idea of moving on
Yeah,
to something else.
the idea of progress is a good
Yes,
impulse. Yes.
yes. But having said that, I'll miss Friday the 13th, and without question, I it'll be in regular kind of viewing rotation for me
100%. Yeah.
in throughout the year and certainly in October.
Completely. Yeah, I can see myself going back to it again.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked it. I didn't. I've always liked the series. I've always enjoyed putting on the movies. Covering them over the past two Halloweens has given me a renewed appreciation for just how much incredible content there is
Yeah.
in the series. Um,
And even their bad content is utterly and totally watchable.
well, it's interesting. I thought because my analogy for what what it was like when the entire back half of the series is ultimately unsuccessful,
Hmm.
yet you still like the series overall. I said, well, if you, yeah, I think in our ranking episode, I said if half of The Sopranos wasn't good, you probably wouldn't say it was a good show.
Yeah,
However,
right.
I think the better analogy is The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
More than half of that is not up to scratch at this
Yes.
point as they go into season 36.
Yeah,
And
right.
yet it's still one of the greatest, still one of the greatest TV shows of all time,
That ever
and will
was
always
made.
be.
Even when the movie came out, I thought that movie's 10 years too late
Mm,
for when the
yes,
series was great.
yeah. Um, so that's a. I think that's more the analogy where it doesn't really matter what they do after a certain point because what they've already done
Is worthy.
is always going to be foremost in your mind. Two,
Yeah.
4, 6
Hmm.
um for this series. So yeah.
Agreed.
Um, yeah, and also the other analogy I thought of was that the difference between speaking up for the back half of the series versus the front half is like that stand-up routine from Chris Rock about old school and new school rap,
Hmm.
where he says, I used to be able to defend rap on an intellectual level. I could defend Public Enemy and NWA on an intellectual level when it's songs with lyrics like "to the window, to the walls, to the sweat drips from my balls." That's hard to defend on an intellectual level, and that's how I feel about
Fantastic.
the back half of this series. Like, I'll go to the mattresses for Friday 2, 4, and 6 as horror, as horror movies or comedy
Hmm.
movies or kind of odd combination of the two.
Right.
But uh, I couldn't seriously disagree with anyone who dismissed any movies in this back half of the series,
Sure.
even though I find the good in them and think some of them are rather good.
Agreed.
I was surprised, like going listening back to our ranking episode, how like the majority of these movies I said were good movies. I think it was only Manhattan and Final Friday I said were bad movies,
Yeah.
which surprised me. I didn't think I was going to go because you said, I mean, it should be a blanket statement. And I
Yeah, right.
realized that when you said that, I was thinking, oh, they're all good. But not that they're all bad, but you meant the opposite. And it's interesting, how in the bag I am for this series,
Yeah.
based on so little comparatively. But it's that I don't know. Again, I must have said this numerous times, but I'm going to say it again because we're on YouTube. So maybe it's a different audience who haven't heard it
By
yet.
all means, go.
It's an unusual series.
It is. Yeah.
It's like there are not many film series that that have sequels that are improvements upon the original. Like a worthy
Especially
body,
multiple
yeah,
movies.
exactly,
Yeah.
like and a body of like a body thereof
Hmm.
of work after the original movie. And also, when we talked about the reboot. Most series don't have very good reboots. This has a really strong reboot.
Hmm.
Um, and then a Freddy versus Jason that when they do cross over with another franchise, it's not horrible.
Yeah.
It's actually that a sort of high point of the second half of the series. So there are not many film series like Friday the 13th in horror or otherwise, I would say.
Yeah. Agreed. And that
Right,
leaves us with the task of
yeah,
ranking these back posters.
back posters. You make it sound like these were posters that were hidden from public view when you say
Yeah,
back posters. It's
one
just
of
sort
them
of
was.
one one of them. One of them, yeah, had to. One of them is controversial and had to be removed from circulation.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the matter of the day.
All right.
So, well, let's go through these chronologically. Again,
Sure.
you know, sometime if it's a short enough series, I'll throw all the posters together. With this one, I really wanted to dig in on these last five because five is a lot to start with, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you start in 1980 and go through to was it 2003
3.
for Freddy versus Jason, that's just too long an amount of time to account for, I think, in
Yeah.
poster design. This is, I mean, this is pretty hard going from the late 80s to the early
Right.
2000s. But, we have to, at a minimum, do that.
And it's
So,
funny because as I'm looking at this poster, I'm realizing that this poster and the last poster we'll see are essentially doing the same thing in different ways.
yeah, poster of two halves.
Yeah.
I mean, this one quite literally,
Mm-hmm.
you know, using the knife as a breakwater. Mwah. Ah, chest kiss to that straight out of the gate. Um, yeah, other thoughts about this poster? I think it's a home run.
Yeah, I really like this poster.
It makes it look like a more expensive movie than it is
Than
as
it
well.
is. Yes, exactly. I was just gonna say.
It's got that going for it. Nothing graphically looks this good in the movie itself.
Correct. But it also, I'm reminded of when you watch those kind of like Halloween pumpkin carving kind of contests
Yeah,
on the Food Network where they're like, I want to know the story without you saying a word.
interesting. What a
And
great analogy.
yeah, this gets the story across without saying a word.
I love that you come up with a Halloween themed analogy
Yeah.
for the yeah, it absolutely does. Um, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this was also Jason in space,
Yeah.
like Jason X, because the I mean, I get that the light coming out of her eyes is an allusion to telekinesis, but the light behind Jason and the
Right.
stars behind Jason make it seem like this movie is set in space as
It
well.
does. It looks like he's got the afterburners on.
Yeah. Turn down your fog lights, Jason. There's no fog.
But we talk about symmetry and balance, and this one has it in spades with,
It almost feels like it's an appeal to my OCD.
yeah.
Um,
And then as an added detail, just that pool of blood there at the bottom of the knife.
yeah, absolutely. The little hallway of blood.
Yeah.
Um, it's really nice. And you know, the title is not too invasive. I think
Hmm.
it's in just the right place and
But it's big.
but it's big, yeah. You can read every part of it.
Hmm.
Um, it's a lot of titles too when you see it on a poster.
Yes, correct.
Three different titles.
Because it's, for the front half of this back half, they get into more and more unwieldy
Yeah.
as they go along.
You know what it kind of looks like? It looks like the bill of a concert.
Yeah.
So like the headline is a Friday the 13th,
Hmm.
then you know the two openers. You've got the guy. The new blood is the guy with the acoustic guitar who comes out to warm up the
Right.
crowd. Then you've got part seven, who are more like a legitimate band,
Yeah.
but very much an opener. They're only going to do 20 minutes. And then Friday the 13th is your kind of rock star performances. That's when the pyrotechnics come out and
Yeah.
you know the floodlights. They finally turn the floodlights on at the stadium. Yeah.
Well, I also like the way that 13 is not fully covered in red blood.
Well, I mean, it's for want of a better phrase, it's biologically correct because the blood is coming downwards.
Yeah.
It's gone into the 13 and it's kind of trickled down and then fallen down the slant, the gradient
Hmm.
of the tidal. So it's so that it makes well that it's like that's real world science right there of how blood moves.
Right.
So I like it. Yeah, and the combination of red and white there as well.
Absolutely. All right.
Uh okay, yeah. That's a good start.
Sounds like we're fans.
So this was the this is this the abridged poster that I've got? Because I can't imagine what was it that bothered them about this
Well,
poster.
this is a different poster. The one
Okay.
that was banned was white with an I love, I heart NY
Mm-hmm.
with Jason slashing through the poster.
Right.
And for some reason, that was just too much for the tourism board to bear, I think.
Not clocking that is of great benefit to their tourism. The
Yeah.
idea that people might be looking in streets of Manhattan for Jason Voorhees before someone replies, "No, he's in Vancouver." Um, oh, interesting. So, I mean, this is the poster that they ended up with,
Yeah.
and I suppose it's good that we're doing that instead because in the same way we're watching the movies after the MPAA got through with them. So
Right. Yeah.
that's what we were judging the poster they actually used. Um, And I mean, it's kind of a poster of any movie set in New York, really. Is the bridge
Hmm.
and the skyline, uh, just with giant Jason,
And it's making a huge promise that the movie does not really fulfill.
right? Jason, Lou. Oh, this. Well, I'll wait till the end, but
Because here he feels omnipresent in New York, whereas the movie,
yeah,
he's omnipresent on a boat going to New York.
I did some quick research, and I have an answer to our question about whether the Muppets was the first use of Takes Manhattan.
Mm.
So we'll talk about that at the end after we've
All
gone
right.
through the poster. But don't let me forget because I've got some good information on that.
Excellent.
Uh, well, I mean, there's so much in this poster I want to talk about. I'm realizing now I don't entirely know what everything is. Is that his hands?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's yeah, because his
And
hands
there's
holding
always
that knife.
different versions of these posters. There's another version of this poster where you can see the hands a little bit better.
Yeah, because the one on my left, that doesn't look like a hand. The one holding the knife, context
Hmm.
clues tell me is a hand, but the other one, it looks like I would have even said that's a couple of people,
Right. Yeah.
not knuckles.
They almost look like aliens from Alien.
Yeah, mini Jasons maybe.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know something about the. I mean, it's interesting because this is very much what you would find in a '80s movie about New York in a
Hmm.
poster, which obviously is intentional. But the knife is in this kind of no man's zone uh between horror and Wall Street. So I don't know what to think about it. Like I think they should have gone for a stronger knife. Certainly compared to the knife work in the last poster, there's no comparison.
No, yeah.
Um Also like opens July 28 everywhere. Do it. I like that.
Yeah, I
That's
noticed that.
so haphazardly written. Where's it on? Ah, everywhere.
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 Japan? Oh yeah, Japan.
Yeah. I said everywhere.
Ecuador? You'll find it in Ecuador.
It killed everyone. But I mean, there are some color problems here. I think uh
Yeah,
the
again,
the
like I
red into
feel
the red into the black.
yeah, but I think there are cleaner versions of this poster as
Okay,
well. So it's weird how they do that, right? Years later they decide to fiddle with the poster that they've already done.
yeah. Well, this is. I mean, this is a contemporary poster for sure.
Hmm.
Um,
But it
It's so
does
fun.
feel like there's a blending of old world and new world. The top of the poster with Jason itself feels more gothic
Yeah.
in horror or what it's communicating as
Hmm.
opposed to the bright lights, big city of New York
Yeah.
in the
I think
foreground. And it does feel it's weird because it's not a 3D movie, but it feels like there's different levels
hmm
3D wise in this movie where Jason's sitting back, the city's forward, and the knife is even further forward. So
the
it's got
knife.
this
Yeah.
kind of 3D forced perspective about it.
The knife is very 3D movie.
Yeah.
It's so funny how forgiving we are, even of the Jason Takes Manhattan poster. We're already forgiving all its flaws.
I have to tell you, like, the second you brought it up, my first comment was going to be, I think I like this poster way more than I should.
Yep,
The poster's got
like the
problems.
movie, like the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it
like the
fits the
movie.
movie down to a T.
Yeah.
I,
But
I
it's
might.
funny too that how prevalent the title was in that last photo of Seven
Hmm.
and how much smaller it is here,
It's not
but
even the
with a more
yeah.
unwieldy title.
Oh yeah, that's true. They make the title look shorter than New Blood, which it
Yeah.
is not. My issue with it is the choice of red,
Yeah.
because you lose the title in that red against
Against the
against
water.
the what we can loosely call in New York water, uh, which is suitably black, and I think even if it was daytime, it would remain black. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, at
But
least
I
I mean
do
it's
kind of
it
like how Jason's looming over everything. I'm not sure I quite under like get the tagline. I mean, I get it, but this was
was
the
the
best we could do. New York has a problem. It's not great though. I also think it's a little weird.
that we're apologists for this terrible movie and
Yeah,
poster.
probably that
No, go
too.
on, go on.
Well, if you look at the top behind new and problem, it looks like this is the hockey mask of four with the X
Mm,
to it,
yeah.
but this is supposed to be a new mask without that problem.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone knew who made the poster was working
Knew
at that
that.
level of canon knowledge, though.
Yeah.
I think you're lucky that it's even a hockey mask. It could be totally. I could imagine it being a totally different sport.
Yeah.
This is that like watching like my mind is kind of split now because I'm just watched the Friday the 13th movies and I'm watching the making of the Halloween sequels. So I'm kind of cross-pollinating sometimes. And
Hmm.
I'm thinking of the story of when the Michael Myers mask arrived in Halloween 4, it was pink with blonde hair. And they couldn't communicate to the props department that Michael Myers has a white face and brown hair,
Yeah, right.
and it kept coming back, and it was still pink and blonde. It came back like 3 or 4 times. It's like
And
just
you could see it. You could see it in the film.
so whenever the fact that it's even a hockey mask, I think is just uh,
That's a chalk it up
that's a
as a
win.
win.
I'll chalk that up as a win. Yeah.
Well, I can move on. The only last thing I'll say is opens July 28th everywhere.
Mm.
I like how the titles above it are framed around it.
Yes, that is nice and geometric. Also, the I don't because the thing is, I want to be able to read those separately, so I don't want them to be part of the poster. And this
Hmm.
this is like right now, my phone is so fucked. I have to use a touchscreen button to make anything happen on it. And whenever I watch a video on my phone, the button just like fades into the background, and that's what these titles look like.
Yeah.
So I get the choice as to whether I want to see them or not. So I like that.
All right.
But the same is true of the title, and I do want to read the title.
Yes. Right. I mean,
Yeah,
you could give up trying to read the credits.
right. New
Not
York has
possible.
New York has a new problem. I really like that. I don't have any issues with it.
All right.
One, two, three, four, five, 6 words.
Live counting here on the podcast.
Well, yeah, but like I feel that's the maximum amount of words you can have, sure, but I don't think it's overuse. I think it gets
Hmm.
it gets it across. Symmetrical, new and new.
He'll do it his way.
Is that another one?
Should it be? It's my question.
Did you say kill do it his way?
No, he'll do it his way.
Oh, I thought you said kill do it his way, which is even better. He'll do it his way. What? Because that's I mean that's 2 degrees of Sinatra right there.
Yeah.
If he can, it should. I know what it should be. If he can make it here, dot dot dot.
Yes. Perfect.
Because that also speaks to the movie. Because for most of the movie, he's trying to
He
make
can't
it
get
to
there.
Manhattan. Yeah,
It has double meaning for make it here.
but imagine that as if
Make
they
it here as in finally arrived.
right. So
Love that.
imagine if they had to pull the poster where he's slashing through "I Love New York." Then they have the Sinatra reference, and the Sinatra people are like, "Okay, you got to pull that poster now
Hey,
because
hey,
we're not
fuck
having."
that shit.
Stop referring to other properties in the poster.
All right, let's see the
Yeah,
next one.
you ready for butt worms?
Butt worms.
Uh,
Well,
well, you can't. I'll say this for this poster: you can't say you weren't warned.
correct.
No one can tell you weren't warned.
Yeah. Keep keep your questions and your problems to yourself.
Yeah.
We told you what it was going to
Oh,
be.
sorry, I keep blowing my skipping past the butt worm. Cold. Wanting that thing to disappear. Why is that still up there? There it goes. 3, 2, 1. Talking to myself in editing. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, talk me through. I mean, this poster. It's ironic that I skip past it because whenever I see this poster, I don't really look at it. Like I feel like I get a general idea of what's on the poster and I move on
Yes, right.
because I don't see a mask there until I look really hard.
Well, that's the thing too, is that this looks like the mask from the next movie, which doesn't make any sense.
No, but I don't even clock that it's the worms going in and out of a mask.
Okay.
And also, I mean, should this be as worm forward as it is, even for this movie? Because the movie is not that worm forward.
Right. Good point.
Because it's so this it's so for want of a better term in your face with the worm face. Well, in fact, in the worm face.
Yeah. I mean, plus hell is in the title, so you have that. I assume that's why you have the surrounding fire,
Yep.
but that doesn't happen until the last seconds of the movie.
Well, it frames the movie, doesn't it? Because they send him to hell. He
Not
gets
really. They
his
just send him to the morgue.
he's on his way to hell, then he gets detoured, and then he ends up going back to hell.
Okay.
I don't know. Like that's the problem. Is like if they're basing this on the Ernest films, how quickly does Ernest get to camp? How quickly does he get to jail? I haven't seen these films. I don't know.
I haven't seen them either. We'll see them someday.
No, we will not. No, no. I'm sorry. I draw the line at the Ernest movies. I don't think I can do it mentally.
Oh no, we'll be seeing them.
uh, yeah. It's not much to recommend this.
I agree.
And also the credits are the opposite of the previous poster because they're both you can't read them and they're too visible. The
Yes,
worst of
right.
both worlds.
Yeah. And forget trying to see who's in the movie down below.
Maybe that's deliberate. Maybe anyone who's involved in the movie
We don't want to know.
put it in the
Erin
contracts that
Gray had it written in her contract.
it's like when in Fargo when Jerry Lundegaard's pulling that scam where he's
Hmm.
deliberately um making the license numbers illegible and just keeps fucking that guy over. I think that's what they're doing here. What about the tagline?
Well, again, not sure it's accurate because he doesn't really find that home until the end of the film.
That's okay,
It does
so
say finally found though. So
yeah, it should be he found a home finally.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
could be the
right.
same tagline, just slightly
Just
adjusted.
slightly with an edit.
And it really, the worm. Sorry, I know we're supposed to be talking about the tagline, but the worm really looks like a turd.
Yes.
And I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
if you want to associate your movie quite that much with a turd,
right.
especially when it is a turd.
Every once in a while you have a turd where you're like, I think this is gonna hit the bottom of the bowl before it
Yeah,
separates from me, and that's this turd.
yeah. It's like, have I got enough water in this bowl to cover what's about to happen? Um,
Well, if you're I don't know if your phone's on, but I also just sent you me as that worm
no, my phone is not on, but I'll.
just for shits and giggles.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. I haven't actually seen. This is the first time I haven't seen our Photoshop versions of the posters
Yeah.
before we rank them. Um, which means you can piece together the timeline better than you can in the Friday the 13th movies. Our
Right.
time, our recording timeline. Um, but yeah, just the texture of the worm.
Right.
Is it like? Would you even describe? We're calling it a worm. Is it a worm?
Yeah, it does look like a
More
log.
turd than worm.
It does look like a log.
And so the mask, and then what's going on with the mask? It's
Well, it's
liquid
wrong.
metal. Once I know it's wrong. It's liquid metal, but also like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Man in the Iron Mask.
Yeah.
Doesn't It's not a hockey mask.
Well, as the shape of a
It's
hockey mask,
it's a shield with
I could
eyes.
see that they went for holes where a hockey mask would have holes.
Yeah. It's like if you oh God, I don't know how
But there's too much turd worm to be able to identify.
I don't know how disgusting anyone wants us to get, but it's kind of like it's like a guy with two anuses. One turd goes one way, one turd goes the other way. And this worm's saying, "What do you want from me?"
Yeah, one turd's crawling back up over the leg, I guess.
Also, you've got to. I mean, we're going back to this after having seen the movie. Let's assume you see the poster as your entree to the movie.
Right, exactly. Because this poster makes it feel like your movie takes place in hell, not unlike my sequel pitch.
But also, wouldn't you be, what the fuck?
Hmm.
This is a lot. How is this going to be conveyed in the movie?
Right.
Is it like a goo? I know I always mention ghoulies every single fucking episode, okay? But I'm gonna do it again. Is it? Was it a ghoulie situation where they did the poster and it was the turd worm was so popular? We're like, we gotta crowbar this
We got to
turd
make
worm
this
into the
part of the
movie.
story.
That would actually explain so much about the origins of this
Oh.
movie.
All
Anything to
right.
say? Anything to say in its favor?
Not really. The fire looks good. It just, you can't see
Yeah,
words on it.
there's no words on it. Fucking thing sucks. The only thing I'll speak up for is the again the arrangement of the title. I like that Jason Hell and then goes to in the middle,
Yeah.
but then you've got like a squashed subtitle.
The final Friday.
That feels like they've not dragged the font as far as they should on the
Yeah.
on the early Apple Mac program they used to design the poster. All right. Well, let's move on.
Next.
Oh, more breakwater knife work.
Yeah.
Wow. And surely this is an antidote to the last poster in terms of representing the movie. I mean,
Right.
although there's not a lot of there's no more space in the poster than there was in the New Blood.
Well,
It's the same
but you
amount
have
of stars back.
stars. You have
We had
stars.
the stars in New Blood too.
What? I didn't see that.
Yeah, stars in the background of that poster
Oh.
too. Um, is that so? In the same way that the movie is more referential than other uh Friday the 13th movies, is the poster also more referential? I feel like I've seen the screaming woman's face in a knife done before in like a Brian De Palma movie or poster or something.
Certainly in the there's a I remember because I made a poster for it for the other podcast.
Hmm.
What's that movie called? It's a Nicolas Cage witch involved movie.
Oh, The Wicker Man,
No,
Season of the Witch.
is that what it's called?
If it is, I'm disappointed you forgot that title because that's Halloween 3's title too.
I know.
Well, there's a Nicolas Cage movie called Season of the Witch.
Must be that one, I guess.
Not necessarily. He makes a lot of movies,
That's true.
many of them on
Um,
this on a similar theme.
but yes, I have seen the reflection in the knife, and I want to say, isn't there a reflection in a Halloween, like
Hmm.
resurrection in the
Yeah.
knife?
Yep. I can see it too. Yep. Halloween
Yeah.
Resurrect, which would have come out before this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's derivative, but it's a more postmodern movie, so it kind of gets
Yeah.
away with
Season
it.
of the Witch. That's the one.
Is this where your sequel pitch idea of the two of Jason splitting in two came from?
No, which is odd. I mean, that came to me late because as he's falling, he's full robotic Jason at that point, but it is a happy accident, right?
I actually take it back. I think this is kind of burying the lead about what the movie's about. Because the tagline is evil gets an upgrade, and that only happens in the final few minutes of the movie.
Yeah, but I like that
Oh, it's a good tagline.
tagline.
But it's not I don't know, it's not a movie about robot Jason, it's about Jason being in space, and
Hmm.
we don't get that flavor.
Oh, I don't know. You have the stars. You have both versions of
It's not
Jason.
we see there's like 3 stars in there.
Get out. There's more.
Three
I could
max
see more stars in this than I did in seven.
well, that's because it's bluer,
But
so they're more
also,
visible. There's no more stars.
the the only reason you're
It's
not
not
seeing more
full of
stars is
stars.
because so much of the poster is taken over with Kane Hodder's bloated head.
True. My God, it's not full of stars.
Yes.
And the credits and the coming soon
Hmm.
and the Jason X.
I feel like Evil Gets an Upgrade should have been bigger and more above the titles.
I don't remember if we talked about this or not, but presumably you like the fact that we went to Jason Jason Roman numeral at this point.
Oh yeah.
Um
I just love Jason X because even though
saves
it's
everyone a lot of trouble, doesn't it?
yeah, even though it's clearly 10,
Hmm.
like when you say it, you're hardly ever thinking about
Hmm.
10 as a
Interesting.
number. It feels
We
just more spacey.
we don't
Not
that's so
Kevin Spacey, more spacey as in space.
yeah, we don't need to introduce any more predators into this conversation.
No.
That's so interesting. I hadn't clocked. We don't do this for any other time we see Roman numerals.
Hmm.
We don't say Rocky V
Yeah,
or
right,
Rocky
exactly.
VI. We only do it for Jason
Yeah. And
and
only
only
this
this movie.
movie. Yeah.
Wow. I'm learning a lot. I sounded like Ralph Wiggum then, didn't I? I'm learning.
I'm learning.
Um,
But
that's bizarre.
I like the
No
Jason,
one
and I
says
like
Jason 10. No one says Jason
no,
10
ever.
ever. Wow,
I
that
love the
has
Jason, I
honestly
love
blown
the
my mind.
X, and I love the knife. I love how the X is kind of the hilt of that medical machete.
I hadn't clocked that, but you're absolutely right. Well, only if it's on a stand. Just what you all have your knife stands, right, at home?
Yeah.
Place to put your knife so it doesn't cut the surface of your unit.
And
Um,
then also what's interesting about this poster is it's like this poster is flirting with blue so we can get into the full blue of the next poster.
it does have to sort of like
It's like a
soft.
gateway poster.
Exactly, it is a gateway poster. We're trying to soft shoe the idea of
Yeah.
color. Yeah. Also, website address, which
Mm,
would you wouldn't have been able to do before,
right.
but also fits the space age quality of the movie. Like it feels like that doesn't feel out of place in
Hmm.
this movie because we're already centuries ahead of the
Well,
internet. Post
you know,
Microsoft conflict, right?
post Microsoft conflict, correct. And I like the focus on the two eyes. The
Mm,
one thing Kane Hodder does well in any movie. Put put that camera big time on his eye. Nice and
that's
close.
true. It is very eye forward in
Yeah.
the direction, isn't it? It's interesting to me that the story that the two eyes tell, because on one side you've got a fucked mask and what looks like a healthy eye, and then on
Yeah.
the other side you've got a very sick eye,
With a
yet
healthy
a
mask.
with a flawless mask. So that's telling me that he sort of degrades inside once the mask gets better,
Hmm.
which doesn't is not in the movie, but forever will now be in my head canon because of this poster. Okay, well,
All right.
that's all I have to say, I think.
Next.
Is he in chains on the left side? Is that a chain around his neck?
Yeah, it might be when he's captured at the beginning.
I guess he's been, we normally find him chained up at the beginning of most of these movies,
True.
but normally underwater. This is the first time we don't get him underwater.
Oh, you found a different one.
I did?
Yeah.
Well, I
Because
mean, this was the one was your one
yeah,
the blue one, yeah. Well, this was what I understood was the kind of lobby poster, the physical
interesting.
poster.
See, because I remembered the blue one,
Oh,
and
okay.
I thought, but I could just be remembering what I've seen on like the
Yeah.
DVD
Max.
covers.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was trying to avoid it.
Interesting.
I mean, this is like it's interesting that you've got the last poster is kind of forward looking. This is very much backward looking in terms of design because this is trying to
Hmm.
emphasize the kind of 70s faded film stock
Yeah, there's that.
look.
And then on top of it, this poster seems to say that the two characters are taking a back seat to their weapons.
Hmm. Yeah, do they need a disclaimer that says that this moment isn't actually in the movie?
Yeah, right.
Is it those are a point where the machete gets caught in the knife fingers?
I don't think so. Is there?
I don't remember it. I feel
I
like
don't remember
I
that.
feel like we would have talked about it had it happened.
Hmm.
You know how we miss nothing.
Famous for that.
Famously miss nothing. So Uh,
Is there a uh, see how in the Jason mask, how it
mhm.
looks like right underneath to the right of his eye? There's a whole nother mask right there.
Yes. Well, this was the era of magic eye, right? This was
I guess
maybe
so.
maybe they put a little magic eye painting in for
That's funny.
so you could
But
stare
that
at it for
doesn't look
hours.
like the mask. I don't know. It just looks strange to me. Looks like the wrong mask. Plus, you can barely see Freddy.
Yeah, well, they're so shrouded in darkness, I think,
Yeah,
purposefully. The mask, the Jason mask looks like the mask that the one of the trick or treaters in Nightmare Before Christmas wears.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
It's like long and
Hmm.
angular, and you normally think of, well, I say you don't need to think of it. We've got examples of it right here. It's pretty. It's
Hmm.
open. It's wide.
Bing. Just two men wearing masks in a
Well, I'm just
closet.
thinking of myself scrolling through on iMovie later, looking for that one image so I can turn it into a still. Um, and, and then and also like if anyone just sort of sees that, they'll be like, okay, so Jason Voorhees is two Jason Voorhees are reviewing
Right.
posters of his movies.
All right,
Um.
friend.
Oh wow, that's all you got to say.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it's fairly sparse, especially compared to it's the sparsest of all of them, which is
Yeah.
interesting because it's the movie with the most content
Hmm.
of all of them. I like that you can see the R from a distance.
Hmm.
The rated R at the bottom from a distance.
Yeah.
That's bigger than it normally is. It's like don't go sending your kids to the movie.
Right. It's framed pretty well too.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. It's a good
Uh,
looking poster.
it is a good looking poster. Is it? But is it good looking enough to get top spot? Is the
No.
question. Is it right at the bottom, which is where we normally start?
I know what's at the bottom of my list.
Can I take a guess?
Sure. Move
There you go.
couple over.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
terrible.
I would say that the poster is even more is the travesty that people think the film is.
Yeah, right.
Because it has nothing to recommend it
Hmm.
apart from it put the goes to in sort of the right place.
Yeah.
Whereas the movie has aspects that recommend it, but this is a turd of a poster.
Turn of a poster.
It's also a poster which features a turd. So as you as the saying goes, you can't polish a turd, but that's exactly what this looks like. A literally a pot. Someone has polished a turd.
Polished a turd and
Okay,
put jaws on it.
so joint bottom is Jason
Yeah.
Goes to Hell: The Final Friday. What's next on your list?
Mm, 8.
I know how numbers work. Um, Friday the 13th, Jason. Oh, I might be even more of an apologist for this one.
Wow. I was an apologist for the movie.
So was I.
Yeah, but I ranked it higher.
You did. Well, I think I'm going to rank the poster higher than you as well.
Nice. All right.
This is not my second bottom. My second bottom is this one.
Oh, I like that poster.
I just don't. I think, and this is interesting. It's my attachment to the movie that changes my view of the poster.
Mm.
because this does not promise as good a movie as Jason X is. Again, this is the movie that everyone thinks Jason X is.
Right.
Is this poster? There's not enough space in it. There's not enough like
That I agree with.
space
So
opera.
the one problem that I think this has is how big they make the Kane Hodder Jason. Maybe
Yeah.
that's just because he is a big giant sack of meat.
Well, you can
But
do what you want to him in the poster.
yeah,
You can have him
exactly.
at any distance.
I want to see the top of his head. I want to see the top of that knife. I want it all to be shrunken down a little bit so that I can see space, maybe a little spaceship in the background, even.
I was gonna say there should at least be a spaceship.
Yeah.
It's not just Jason in the night sky. He's in
Hmm.
fucking space in a spaceship.
But the knife in the middle and the
Knife's
two
good.
masks I like and the kind of X making the
The knife keeps it from bottom.
yeah. So that's why this is my next
Okay.
movie.
Well, then we've just flipped it because this would be my
That
next one.
okay.
The Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. And I think the tagline has captured me.
Hmm.
Um, and really all I have to forgive is the red, the poor choice of red on the title. Everything else I'm kind of fine with.
Well, even the blurry red up top I got problems with, but the
The
smoky
red
red.
the red around Jason.
Yeah.
What's your issue with it?
Well, it almost makes it look like it's a he like his hands look like they're a negative
Yeah,
of a photo.
that's true. Hmm. Well, third from bottom is like right in the middle, and
Yeah.
I think I've got like I like a little more than half of the poster, so that kind of fits. Okay. Well, top two.
Top two.
Where do you begin?
I know my top. It's
Okay,
been
so
my
you
top
well then
all
you know your
along.
second.
And because of that, I gotta go Freddy versus Jason next. Boom.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's I so the reason it's second on my list is because it's sparse. It calls back to classic horror.
Hmm.
It's it doesn't give anything away. I like that.
Right.
The title's Freddy versus Jason. That's all you see in the poster. There's nothing intrusive or obstructive in it.
Hmm.
So I like all of that. But it's also a little bit unsatisfying because I think you're anticipating a more fun movie, and this will make you think that maybe it's a movie that takes itself a little bit too seriously,
Hmm.
and it's called Freddy versus Jason. That's not going to be good. It's not a good mix.
I
I
guess the
mean,
other thing that
yeah.
when because I've seen the other poster, I'm trying to decide whether or not I like this more than the blue poster.
Sure. Oh, I like this way more than the blue poster.
Okay.
This is this is really good poster
I
design.
like Freddy more in this poster. I don't know that I like Jason more. I mean,
Well,
now that I'm
again,
looking at that second mask on the right, it looks like you're even seeing some of his body below that. Like I'm seeing shoulders and a chest.
we can see his chin, his double
Hmm.
chin. Yeah, well, I mean that's the same imbalance in the movie, isn't it? Freddy gets all the glory.
Yeah.
So not enough for it to go to less than. Were you starting to re-rank there or no?
No,
Okay, so that's
it
number two.
stays.
So we got the same number one.
It's so good.
Although this is the real number two. Yeah, I mean, I think I think you could have skipped ahead from the moment we first both looked at this poster and everything we were saying about it.
Yeah,
I
we
and
were.
by the way, I never have any preconceptions. I never look at these posters ahead of time. I have no idea what I'm going to do until I
Yeah,
look at
me
them
either.
and talk to you about them. But this is quality through and through.
I love it.
I don't think there's I have a single thing wrong with
Right.
this poster except that. And yeah, maybe you go with just a black background rather than stars in the background. But
I don't know where the hell you're seeing stars.
okay, I think you're right. I think it's all black. That's just dust on my screen, literally.
Perfect.
Okay, so
Ah,
I withdraw that. Well, it's top anyway, but I withdraw
yeah,
my nitpick. Right down to the and something I'm just noticing is the cracks in the mask,
yeah,
and it's going to split open eventually in the movie, so it's like the beginning of the beginning
right.
of the split.
It's good stuff.
Perfect. Well, there we go. We're both we both have the same ranking except we have swapped out
Eight
Manhattan and Jason X.
and X. Yeah.
Well,
Ooh,
as advertised, I'm going to talk a little bit about the origins of
yes, please.
Takes Manhattan before we tell us. I mean, we're talking to each other. Tell you what series we're doing next. Um, so the phrase "Take Manhattan" appears to reference the song "Manhattan" by Rodgers and Hart, first heard in 1925.
Mm.
Interestingly, it was itself a rewrite of the original lyric. The line in the original lyric is "We'll have Manhattan, the Bronx, and Staten Island too." Later renditions changed that line, amongst others, to "I'll take Manhattan." Um, so it goes all the way back to the 1920s,
Okay.
and but our instincts were right that Muppets Take Manhattan kind of popularized the term because after that throughout the rest of the 80s there was a spate of reusing the term. So Takes Manhattan comes out in 1984, which is later than I thought that film came out. um then 1987 Leonard Cohen releases First We Take Manhattan,
Oh, okay.
and then of course 1989 Part 7,
Love it.
Jason Takes Manhattan, and then
Well,
all the
part
way
eight.
through.
Part eight.
Sorry, I said Part 7, didn't I? Part 8, yeah. I can't read Roman numerals. That's why I say Jason X instead of Jason 10.
Yeah.
Um, and then all the way through to 2012, an episode of Doctor Who called The Angels Take Manhattan, which,
Lovely.
as I remember, was a double episode. No, how? No, it wasn't. So The Angels Take Manhattan. I believe there's also the Daleks Take Manhattan, or Dalek. Oh no, it's called Daleks in Manhattan. Never mind.
Already forgotten.
I forget 50% of everything you say anyway. So there you go. I didn't have time to look up the origin of Goes To, but I imagine it's a similar story. I mean, not in. I don't think it comes from a song, but
Hmm.
I wonder if because this came up right. I might do some live googling,
All right.
um, uh, because my before I look it up, my feeling is there are a bunch of not very good movies called Something Goes to Something,
Yeah,
and they
right.
probably started around the 1930s. So I'm gonna look that up now.
Very good then.
You can
In
vamp
the
for.
meantime,
Oh yeah. Let's talk about. Well, then I'll let you
yeah,
vamp by.
telling the good
Yeah,
people where we're going next while you research.
sure. Oh, this isn't going to work. A short history of humans going to the movies. That's not what I want. The origin of Let's Go to the Videotape
Oh, nice.
on the QT. It's really kind of telling me
and
everything
very
but.
hush hush.
It's telling me everything but
All
what I
right.
search for. Okay, let's yeah, that's for another time.
Well, I think it's I think we landed on just the right series to go to because one of the last movies we watched included a not Tony Todd.
That's correct.
And therefore, we thought, what better place to go than the Candyman?
Oh no! That's one. You got to count them.
Huh?
I said that's one. You got to count them.
I got a what?
You got to every time you say that word.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Sorry.
So that's one. We're one
I
down.
forgot I
You can only
forgot
say it twice. You can say
the
it once
main
more.
deal of the entire movie.
You can say it once more in our entire coverage of the series. No, I'm kidding. We're gonna have to say it quite a lot. So
Yeah. But
apologies
that's
if
the series
if
we're going to.
apologies if bees start coming out of your mouth while you're
We'll go
listening
to
to us.
Candy Cane Lane. That's where he stays, right?
And the gumdrop house on Lollipop Lane. You can't tell I'm being sarcastic. Well, duh.
Well, we'll
Um,
we'll put on our bee suits.
that's it. When we do the ranking episode, we'll be with the bee mask on. Yeah. So, Candyman. And just for those of you not in the know, we're only talking about two movies:
Yeah.
Candyman 2, Farewell to the Flesh, and Candyman 3, Day of the Dead. But this also gives us an opportunity. If you sign up for our Patreon, at some point we'll be doing the Candyman original and reboot.
Original and
So,
boot.
mhm.
Love it.
So yeah, we're sticking with horror for a bit longer, and I believe we had the conversation on air where we said that it's a shame that we don't do horror except at Halloween because you can't keep waiting a year
We
to
don't
do a
always. I mean, we've done other series
yeah,
and we
but
did
but
The
there's
Omen and we don't
yeah,
save.
that's true.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make a point of why couldn't the next movie we do be a horror movie series?
Yeah.
Because you got to do what you got to do when you got to do it.
And also, we should just be doing more horror in general because there's so many horror sequels.
Yeah, and it also I don't know if we want to let this cat out of the bag, but it's if you're on Apple Podcasts, you can see this. We're coming up close on 300 episodes.
Indeed, we are.
So we want to make sure that when we get to 300 that we're not just doing
In the
any
middle of a
other
series.
in the
Yeah.
middle of a series. So we picked one that had two that movies were available in a series that we both I think definitely want to cover.
Yeah.
I've never seen either of these movies.
I think I've seen one.
I know one of them has a very strong reputation amongst horror sequels, so I'm really excited. And we go back to our old friend Tony Todd, who even
Yeah.
though we had
Saw
this
him in the Final Destination series.
exactly we saw his surrogate in Jason X, but we saw him last in the Final Destination series, which also, by the way, we will be going back to at some point because there's a reboot coming up, right?
Hey, oh.
There's a Final Destination reboot. I was looking ahead to movies that were being rebooted to see if we could do an original reboot on Patreon. And it looks like I Know What You Did Last Summer is coming back
That
with a
does.
sequel.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be a sequel, whereas Final Destination is going to be a reboot.
Well, but there's already a reboot of I Know What You Did Last Summer that we can tackle now that
Is
I
there?
think about it. Yeah, there was a recent one.
Wasn't that a TV series? Oh, then we missed one, which is so unlike
Hmm.
us.
We
Well,
never miss anything,
I'll get something out of this live Google. Hang on.
including 4 or 5 movies from 1990.
Yes, indeed. I Know What You Did Last Summer
Remake?
series. I'm not sure this is the case because I specifically looked this up.
Oh, okay.
I think it's coming. It was a TV series in 2021.
Then that must be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Uh but they're doing a sequel. Or I mean, this is the thing. Like, I don't know how reliable
Sequel
the
to the
information.
original series or to this TV show?
No, to the original series. Well, this is the
Oh,
thing. Like, I don't. These things change. All decisions are made and unmade all the time in Hollywood. So
yeah.
I fully expect by the time we get to production, it'll all swapped over, and I know what you did last summer will be a reboot, and Final Destination will be a sequel. But we'll get to do at least one of those on Patreon. I mean, we'll do them anyway because our Patreon is now lawless as to what movies we're doing. As
Yeah, it's nuts.
those of you who subscribe will have seen
This
uh
month.
this month,
Oh,
yes.
last month.
Well, exactly, yeah. So we're doing some Friday the 13th style time travel here because we'll have
We don't have a
already done
choice.
episodes that we have not yet recorded. You'll have already heard them by the
Right.
time you got here. This is real. Speaking of Doctor Who, this is real timey-wimey stuff.
I assume that's correct.
You know what, Mike? It's wonderful that you've never heard the term timey-wimey because to me that is the nadir of language in the series Doctor Who.
All
I'm
right.
almost appalled at myself for using it. That's a line written by a man who cannot write.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm. His
All
name is
right.
Stephen. His name is Stephen Moffat, and at one point he ruined all of my favorite franchises in the space of a single year simultaneously. Tintin, Doctor Who, and Sherlock Holmes, all ruined by the same man in the same year.
Oh, I think you'd like to put him in a cage match with J.J. Abrams. See what happens.
Oh, J.J. Abrams would, with respect, eat him for breakfast. He'd lock him in a man-sized mystery box and throw him in the lake. This is like Hollywood versus British people who occasionally work in Hollywood. There's no contest.
Which lake is he throwing him into? He fell down and then he just takes a peek outside the box, and this Jason looks over. How you doing? My name's Jason. Stuck down here because of telekinesis.
I thought you didn't talk. Yeah, well, a lot of things have changed in the
Ah,
mythology
things
since I've
change
been
down
down
here,
here.
buddy.
Turns out now I'm afraid of water, and
Gotta keep myself from being too bored.
I'm only evil because of this giant turd inside me. It's just because maybe that's it. Maybe the secret is Jason wasn't evil; he was just constipated the whole
There you
time.
go.
That would explain a
All
lot,
right.
actually. Yeah,
Let's put an
let's
end to this.
let's get out of here. Let's mask on. So if
Yes.
anyone scrolls to the end, um,
Mm.
they're gonna get.
Oops.
Now I'm just gonna talk shit about Mike
Where's my eye holes? There we go.
while his headphones are up because he can't hear what I'm saying.
It's so weird to watch Jason put on headphones.
Yeah, Jason wouldn't make a great podcaster, would he?
No.
Dead air,
This
Jason. Dead air for the first 13th time in a row. Dead air.